governor's amendments to the biennial budget. The governing body, which is now the Board of Equalization, may now meet electronically without a quorum actually assembled in a single location, and within the in-person Board of Equalization members voting on the participation of those who are remotely in. Following benchmarks are the meeting this evening have been met. Governor declared a state of emergency for current COVID-19 pandemic in accordance with the Code of Virginia. Second, the declared emergency makes it impractical or potentially unsafe for the Board of Equalization to assemble in a single location, and guidance from the state and federal government support this determination. Therefore, the Board of Equalization will be meeting with various members participating electronically go through the GoToMeeting. Third, the meeting is to discuss or transact the business statutorily required or necessary to continue the operations of the Board of Equalization. Fourth, the Board of Equalization will make available a recording or transcript of the meeting on its website in accordance with the Code of Virginia. Fifth, notice has been and will continue to be provided to the public using available methods. And lastly, we have made and will continue to make arrangements for public access through electronic means, including the ability to comment, and those participating electronically are Board of Equalization member Tony Shiflett and the assessors Mac Page and Cindy Page. Those participating in person are directors John Strouser and Martha Collier, and also in attendance is Elena Connor, City Clerk. So with that being said, we will proceed with our agenda, and with the approval of the minutes of March 7th, or March 10th and April 7th. Do I have a
Motion to approve.
motion from John Strouser? Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, John, Page, and Tony. With that, we have 3 cases in front of us tonight. The Manassas Park Village, are they in attendance?
Yes, Mr. Should be. Mr. Grubbs, are you present? Is there a representative from Manassas Park?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We can.
I'm not representing that client. I'm representing the residences at City Center.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
fine.
City Center. So Manassas Park Village is not here yet?
No, let's go ahead and.
Okay, we'll go ahead and talk with Mr. Grubb. Thank you for coming tonight, Mr. Grubb. We will proceed with the City Center. We'll proceed with the City Center appeal, and that would be, I think it's Daniel Grubb. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We will give you 5 minutes to make your presentation. That will be followed by the City Assessor, Mac and Cindy Page, and they will have 5 minutes to make their presentation. So if you'd go ahead, Mr. Grubb.
Okay, well, good evening, and thank you for taking the time to hear our appeal. I'm sorry to hear some of you are not feeling well. Hopefully, you will get better soon. If you turn to page 5 of our packet, this is a very simple appeal.
Okay.
Hopefully, you have our packet there, and you can turn to page 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And if this is our breakdown, we call it pro forma. It's our breakdown of the collective value of the residents of City Center. It's 2 parcel ID numbers, but we have done, like the assessors have done, put it together. It's a single operating entity, and combine both those parcels, and then we split them out as far as separating them in our cover sheets on the appeal, so the board knows exactly what value we're assigning to both. in this case, we're assigning the same value to both. We took our, is somebody else trying to talk? I can't tell.
No, but,
No.
no.
Okay, I'm sorry. So we came to a total, our value is $52 million versus the combined value of the city, which is $56.1 million. And we took those two parcels and we divided them up equally between the two parcels. But really, the gist of the appeal is on page 5. If you look down on the first column, replacement for reserves. And you'll see that in our calculations of fair market value, we're deducting $87,000 for replacement for reserves, and the assessment deducts nothing. And that's just a violation of generally accepted appraisal practices. It's not my opinion, it's the opinion of the International Association of Assessing Officers. An appraiser provides for the replacement for reserves, even if an owner has not done so. And actually, this is a pretty conservative number. If you look at actually their replacements every year, they're well over $87,000. So, we feel that we've been actually pretty generous by only setting aside $87,000 for replacement for reserves. But that needs to be deducted from the operating, from the net operating income. The other thing is that we just have, we have a minor issue with the cap rate. We think that we're still in a pandemic and that it's just not time to lower cap rates yet. And we're just asking for a return to the 2020 assessments cap rate of 5.75%. So those are the two main issues: a deduction for the replacement for reserve, a return to the 2020 cap rate, because we think the risk is still there that there was last year. And that essentially results in a reduction, a difference of $56.1 million on the part of the assessors and $52 million, what we think is the fair market value for the entire combined parcel. And we split that up between the two parcels at $26 million apiece. And that's our appeal.
Okay. Mr. Page, do you want to make your presentation at this time, please?
Yes, I'm going to pass this on to Cindy Smith Page, our commercial property expert.
I'm going to give the board just a little bit of background. We have 6 apartment complexes in the city of Manassas Park. 4 of those complexes have sold since 2018. Artina Manassas, which is behind City Center, sold in 2018 for $172,000 a unit. The residences at City Center sold for $177,000 a unit. We've had a huge increase in sales and the value. In 2020, Oxford Palisades sold for $233,600 a unit. And in 2021, within a month of the July 1 effective date, Haverhill or The Point sold for $272,900 a unit. All of the assessments were lower than any of these sales prices. We've derived cap rates from our sales prices, and that's going to lead me into our explanation about the not allowing for reserves, but we'll get to that in a minute. I just wanted to give you the Artina Manassas is now assessed at $19 million, and it sold for $17.5 million. The residences was $51.5 million. It sold for, and we have it now assessed for $56 million, $56.25 million. Oxford Palisades is assessed for less at $67 million, roughly, at sold for $71 million. And Haverhill, The Point, sold for $95.5 million, and it's assessed for almost $70 million. So, as you can see, the escalation in the values is pretty significant. The derived cap rates from all of those sales, which I can't really talk about, but the cap rates derived from the sales were all between 4.3 to 5% cap rates, and that's not including the tax rate. There, you know, we have different assessment offices allow for reserves in different manners. In Manassas Park, we do not line item reserves. However, we also we look at it as being included in the cap rate. So it's kind of it's a wash. So what I would say about the residences at City Center is that their value is, if you look at the chart that I did on page of the assessor's chart, on page 2 of the assessor's packet, the assessment in 2015 was 51 million roughly, and the assessment now is 56 million. It's gone up 10% in 6 years. The other thing I would say about it is you can see from these sales prices, they've gone up, you know, 3 times that. All of the assessments this year for all the multifamily, Park Place went up 16%. The Glen at White Pines went up 15.2%. Oxford Palisades went up 16%. Haverhill went up 12%. The residences went up 7.9%. And the Artina went up 16.14%. So the 7.9% increase on the residences at City Center is significantly lower than any of the other properties. And I think between the sale price and the fact that the assessment has not gone up, I was privy to some information from Mr. Grubbs's partners about when the property sold and some of the appraisal information that was done. So, you know, I've looked at it pretty thoroughly over the last couple of years, and I feel that the 56 million is more than sufficient for the value. So that's really all I have. I think the difference in opinion is, you know, really not significant in this particular case.
Okay, is there anything else from either party?
You know, I just like to add, these apartments were valued using the income approach to value. And it's, you know, it has to be by law, you have to value them that way. And it's fine to talk about sales, but if you're going to use them as a comparison, you have to adjust it. So it's easy to say, well, this apartment complex sold for this amount of money, and this apartment complex sold for this, and that's fine. But if you're really going to do a sales comparison approach, you've got to adjust them because none of these parcels are exactly the same. So you have to adjust for age, location, maybe size, and units. And you know, to just dump out sales like that, it's not meaningful information unless you adjust them to the property. You know, it seems like the assessors have spent more time thinking about other properties instead of the one they're assessing here. And I think that you have to value these things by the income approach that they did, and they left out replacement for reserves. And I had never heard of putting replacement for reserves into your cap rate. I've just never heard of that. We think the cap rate, even before we considered that, I mean, I had no idea that's what they did. That's too low. So if they made the adjustment, it's a minuscule adjustment, but still didn't, you know, account for what the cap rate should be, let alone for replacement for reserves.
That's a standard practice for most, metropolitan area, not include.
Yeah, I'm just going to add one thing. Most of the jurisdictions do not include reserves. What I will say is the cap rate and I'll tell you what the cap rates are. The cap rate for the residences is 5.45, as is the property that's next to it. However, some of the others are lower than that, and then the two that are at 5.25, and then there are two that are subsidized type properties, and their cap rates are at 6. So, you know, it's definitely where it should be, and it's also higher than what the cap rates were at the time of the sale.
Does the board have any questions?
Okay, thank you, both of you. Director Shiflett, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Strouser?
I do not.
And I have nothing further at this time. So, Mr. Grubb, we will consider all the information that's in front of us from both parties, and the city clerk will send you our decision.
All right, thank you very much. And again, please stay healthy and safe.
Thank you, and the same back to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So do we have any further discussion on this, board members?
I have nothing else to say.
I don't have anything either, and at this point, I would say that the assessor's evaluation, in my opinion, is in their comparisons, is totally within the guidelines.
Mrs. Shiflett, I agree.
Do we have any further discussion, any questions? Do we have a recommendation?
This is what we gotta do.
It would be right here on the assessors, page 3.
Right there.
That's the total, and then you break it down.
I make a motion to leave the land at $13,116,600, building at $43,009,300 for a total of $56,125,900. Let's see. As presented by the city assessors to be a fair market value in the context of equity.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Shiflett. Thank you, Mr. Strouser. So I will direct the city clerk to notify the applicant of that decision. Is the next applicant?
Yes, sir. Is Mr. Adams, are you there?
I am, yes. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Now that he's on.
Okay, and your name, sir?
My name is Jay Adams. I'm with Marvin F. Poor and Company.
J. Adams. Okay. Mr. Adams, you have 5 minutes to make your presentation, and you will be followed by the assessors, Mac Page and Cindy Smith Page. So go ahead if you will, sir.
Okay, great. Yes, I'm here today representing the land at White Pines at 8245 White Pine Drive. The subject is a 166-unit multi-family property. It's one single economic entity, although it's on separate parcels. The property was built in 1975. The proposed decline assessed value was $25,368,200, and we're seeking a value of $22,930,000. And so, on page 2 of my packet, you'll see that we utilized the subject income for the past 2 years. We reviewed that from both 2020 and 2019. The income has been relatively consistent. The subject has a vacancy of just 3%.
So if you look at our pro forma here, again, we utilize the actual revenues provided, and a 40% expense ratio, which is consistent with the trailing 2 years for the property, and using the cap rate. I'm sorry, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And using the assessor's cap rate of 7.55. To kind of sum it up here, we just use the actual income, the current expenses, which is more reflective of the property's performance. The assessor did supply an income model for this property. Historically, they viewed it on the sales approach, but this year it looks like they're taking a consideration of the income, if nothing else. And since we're doing that, we'd like to see those actuals utilized. Thank you.
Okay, Mac and Cindy, are you ready?
The presenting this commercial expert.
Yeah, Jay, we've always done an income approach on this, but anyway, I just wanted to straighten that out. And what I'm going to say is pretty much, I'm not going to go over all the numbers of all the apartments with you all again, because you have them. The one thing I'd say, again, is it's 167, which you have all 167 parcels in front of you. The total assessment back in 2016 was 23 million, almost 23 million one. And at that point, we did reduce the assessment to 2017. Excuse Mac just for a minute, the doorbell's ringing. But in 2016, it was 23 million. We agreed, Marvin Poor had someone represent them in a review, and we lowered the assessment based on some of the income information they gave us in 2017, and the property remained relatively low, 28, not low, but it didn't increase a lot between 2017, 18, 19, and 20. So again, between 2016 to 2021, the property's gone from basically 23 million one to 25 million three. The only difference we have really in our income, which is what Jay pointed out, is really the expenses. And we believe that the expenses are, that we're allowing sufficient expenses at 35%. I know they've had some ups and downs in expenses over the years. It's a very stable property. The owner has thought about its, individual parcels. At one point, they were going to put it together there, but I think, the idea is that they know that they will sell them individually at some point in the future, so they've left them, as individual parcels. Because I think you all know they're just townhouses, so really that's, all the other information you have from what I said in the prior appeal. So if you can, if anybody took notes, if anybody needs me to say it again, you can. The other thing I was going to say was the capitalization rate we used on this was percent, and we only have one other property with a cap rate that's as high as 6%. So we feel like we've given them, basically all the benefit, even though the expenses were different. It's not significant, and even the value difference is not significant. So that's all I have.
Okay, I would, if I can, have a question of Mr. Adams. At this point, all the units are rental units?
Correct.
Okay. And they've always been that way?
For years.
Okay.
Since we've been working the property yet.
Okay, I don't have any further questions. Mr. Shiflett?
No, I don't. I'm looking at it too. I was going to ask if I'm surprised that they're all rental units myself. I didn't think that was the case, but since we're being told that, okay.
So that would be why the comparison would be to the apartment values that Cindy gave us. They're
Correct.
based on the rental rather than ownership.
Their value per unit is, what, 150, like, yeah, 152,000.
Yeah, per unit.
Which, you know, as you all know, if it were units that had been sold and, you know, they were, you know, and you were doing it on a sales price of individual units, it would obviously be a lot higher than that.
Mr. Strauser, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay, if that's all you all have, I have no further questions, and neither do the other two members. So we will consider everything in front of us and make our decision based on that.
Well, thank you for your work on this case, and Cindy, thank you for your time on this case as well.
Sure, thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Have a good day.
Okay,
Well, you get to see Mr. Adams.
Nobody has their camera but us.
No. And then, they got headed.
so, based on the information, do we want to make a decision tonight or have further discussion? Are you all ready? So do I, and for Mr. Shiflett or Mr. Strauser, is there a motion to move ahead?
Okay, so we're going off this here. Cheat sheet. Okay, I'd like to leave the assessment as, the land, $10,001,600. The building at $15,366,600 for a total of $25,368,200. As presented by the city assessors, be fair market value in the context of equity.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shiflett. So, Mr. Adams, that's, we'll send you in writing that decision. The city clerk will send that to you.
Hope he's not,
I don't know if he hears us or not.
he's not up there.
That's Tony, okay. So with that said, the city clerk will send that information along to Mr. Adams, and that will conclude that appeal. City assessors, thank you. Now, we have a third hearing, and that applicant has asked for that to be continued until the 26th of January. Does anybody have any objection to that?
Not as of this time.
So we will not adjourn tonight, we will just continue this and hear that third appeal on the 26th of January.
Can you state the time of the meeting, please?
7 o'clock on January 26th in chambers. I would like as many people as possible to be in attendance. And I think at that time, our city attorney, Dean Crowhurst, will also be in attendance.
I will
Is that correct?
Mark?
be in attendance.
Okay, Dean, thank you. Go ahead, Cindy.
I may not be, I'm not certain if I'll be in town. Mac may be in person, I may not, or whatever. And the other thing, which we wanted to talk to you all about is, I don't know if you know, but, and Matt can talk to you, but we're going to be.
I can if I can get the mic away from now.
I know what you're going to say, but go ahead, Mac.
Just like to wish everybody Merry Christmas. No. Stepping down as the assessment and doing the next real estate assessment. It's supposed to, notice is given in October, and I think it was right around the 1st of January. We're not going to be assessors anymore unless city needed us to, to keep performing for a little while until they found somebody else to do the job. As it stands right now, we're talking with the city about that very fact and trying to work with the details. If somebody new comes in, which looks unlikely, relatively soon, we can the real estate for 2022 with a projected drop dead date, I guess, of being involved with the first of June. We got to work all that out with the city.
Yeah.
With all, I understand certainly, and I appreciate your letting us know with the advance notice like that. But if possible, I would like one of you to be here for the January hearing, just based on our previous involvement.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay? And like I said, Dean will be here, and it'll be a little bit different for that hearing. So with that said, I too will wish everyone a happy Christmas season and a new year, and hopefully everybody will stay healthy. Tony, get yourself well. We don't need you to be sick. And
Want to be. Thank you.
so, Dean, I think that's all we have. And with that said, we will continue this meeting on January 26th. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Just pick the phone and hang it up.